cantina was dark and smoky. Empty bottles covered most tables. In the far corner, an old Zephyrian sat alone. His blue skin looked pale under the dim lights. His forearms moved slowly as he lifted another drink to his mouth. This was Kethfer. Once, he had been a great fleet commander. Now he was just another broken soldier trying to forget. A young Zephyrian officer walked over. His uniform was clean and bright. His eyes still held hope. He had heard stories about the old commander. Stories about the war with humans. The war that changed everything. "Commander Kethfer," the young officer asked. "May I sit?" Kethfer looked up. His yellow eyes were tired and sad. "I am not a commander anymore, boy. Just call me Kethfer." The young officer sat down anyway. "I am Zechtel. I start my first mission next week. They say you fought the humans. Is it true?" Kethfer laughed, but there was no joy in it. "Fought them?" "Yes, I fought them. And they taught me what real fear feels. Like," Zechtel leaned forward, "but we are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. How could primitive humans be scary?" Kethfer took another drink. His hands shook a little. "That is what we all thought, boy. That is what started our nightmare." 20 years ago, Kethfer had been different. He was proud and strong. He commanded a fleet of 200 ships. The Empire had just finished conquering the Veltar system. It had taken only 3 days. The Veltar had good weapons, but they surrendered when they saw they could not win. Then the scouts found Sol System. It had one inhabited planet called Earth. The humans living there had not even learned to travel faster than light. Their weapons were simple. Their ships were slow. High Command called it an easy target. The Emperor wanted Sol System for its resources, Kethfer told Zechtel. 3 planets with valuable metals, gas giants for fuel, and 1 small species that would make good workers. Kethfer remembered getting his orders. Take the system. Make the humans surrender. Put them to work in the mines. Simple and clean, just like always. The first Zephyrian ships arrived at the edge of Sol System. Kethfer sent the usual message. All species got the same words. This is the Zephyrian Empire. Your system now belongs to us. Surrender now and you will live as our workers. Fight us and you will all die. Usually, the species sent back messages full of fear. They asked for mercy. They offered to give up without fighting. Some tried to bargain. Few got angry but still knew they had no choice. The humans were different. Their leader was called Admiral Jake Morrison, Kethfer said. His message was, only 4 words, come and take it. Zechtel looked confused. That is all? No fear? No questions? Nothing else? Just those 4 words. My officers laughed. They thought the humans were too stupid to understand. But something about that message made me feel strange. Kethfer ordered his fleet to move toward Earth. The humans had ships waiting near their moon. The human ships were tiny compared to Zephyrian vessels. They looked like toys, but the humans did not run. The first battle happened near Luna Earth's moon. Kethfer had 100 ships. The humans had maybe 30. It should have been over in minutes. We fired first. Kethfer remembered. It's our plasma. Cannons destroyed 5 human ships right away. I expected the rest to surrender or run. Instead, they came straight at us. The human ships moved in ways Kethfer had never seen. They did not try to stay safe. They flew right into Zephyrian fire. When their weapons broke, they rammed Zephyrian ships. When their engines died, they used emergency thrusters to crash into enemy holes. 1 human ship called Defiance was commanded by Captain Lisa Hayes. Her ship was burning and losing air. Most of her crew was dead. She could have surrendered. Instead, she flew her dying ship into the side of a Zephyrian cruiser. Both ships exploded. I watched it happen, Kethfer said quietly. It's Captain Hayes. She was talking to her crew on an open channel. She told them they were going to ram us. Do you know what they said? Zechtel shook his head. They cheered. They were happy to die if it meant hurting us. What kind of species cheers when they are about to die? Battle lasted 6 hours. The humans lost all their ships. But they also destroyed 12 Zephyrian vessels and damaged 20 more. No species had ever hurt the Empire so much in a first. Battled after the fight, Kethfer found something on the human ship's messages. Not military orders, but personal words between the humans. Soldiers writing to their families. Pilots recording goodbye messages. Captains explaining why they chose to fight. They all said the same thing, Kethfer told Zechtel. They said freedom was worth dying for. They said they would rather die free than live as slaves. I had never heard anything like it. Dr. Sam Carter was a human scientist who got captured during the battle. Kethfer questioned him personally. Carter was small and weak-looking. His hands were soft, did not look like a warrior. I asked him why humans fought so hard, Kethfer remembered. He looked at me with these strange eyes, calm but fierce. He said humans had always fought for freedom. He said we could kill them all, but we could never make them slaves. Kethfer let Carter go. It was supposed to be mercy. But Carter used his freedom to study Zephyrian technology. Within weeks, humans were building better weapons. The human response to the first battle was not fear, it was anger. They started building more ships. They called for volunteers to fight. Millions of humans joined their military. They turned their whole planet into a fortress. My officers still thought we would win easily, Kethfer said. They said humans were just lucky. But I started having bad dreams. Dreams about those pilots who cheered before they died. Dreams about Captain Hayes smiling as her ship exploded. Admiral Morrison sent another message after Luna. This time it was longer. You wanted to know what humans are like. Now you know. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We'll fight you until every last one of us is dead. Come back if you want to learn more? Kethfer looked at Zechtel. Young officer's face was pale. You see, boy, I thought we were hunting sheep. But humans are not sheep. They are something much more dangerous. What are they? Zechtel asked quietly. Kethfer finished his drink. They are free, and they would rather die than change that. The cantina grew quieter. Other aliens had stopped talking to listen. Everyone knew about the human war now. Everyone knew what happened to the great Zephyrian Empire. Kethfer stood up slowly. That was just the beginning, boy. The first battle. We thought we had seen the worst of human fighting. We were wrong. So very wrong. He walked toward the door, leaving Zechtel alone with empty bottles and terrible new knowledge. Outside, the night was dark and full of stars. There's somewhere among those stars, humans were still free. And Kethfer would never forget the price of trying to change that. Kethfer returned to the cantina 3 days later. The young officer Zechtel was waiting for him. The boy looked like he had not slept well. His eyes were red and worried. You came back, Kethfer said as he sat down. I could not stop thinking. About what you told me, Zechtel replied. About the humans who chose to die rather than surrender. Is there more? Ugh. Kethfer ordered his usual drink. Much more, boy. That first battle was nothing. Just a small taste of what was coming. 6 months after Luna, Kethfer was no longer confident. The war should have been over by then. Every other species had fallen within weeks. But humans were different. They kept fighting even when they lost. They kept learning even when they died. The worst part was how fast they learned, Kethfer said. After each battle, they got better. They studied our weapons. They copied our ships. They even improved on our designs. Dr. Sam Carter had escaped after his capture. Instead of hiding, he gathered other human scientists. They worked day and night to understand Zephyrian technology. Within 2 months, human ships had better shields than before. Within 4 months, their weapons were stronger. But it was not just copying. Humans made things the Zephyrians had never thought of. They combined their old technology with new alien knowledge. They created hybrid weapons that surprised even their makers. Remember the first time I saw a human ship with our plasma cannons, Kethfer told Zechtel? But they had changed the design, made it fire faster, used less power. Our own weapons turned against us, but better than we had ever made them. Captain Lisa Hayes had died at Luna, but other humans took her place. Captain Danny Rodriguez commanded a group of small, fast ships. They attacked Zephyrian supply lines. They stole weapons and food. They rescued prisoners. Rodriguez was like a ghost that appeared, struck hard, and vanished. The humans also did something no other species had tried. They started talking to other conquered worlds. They sent secret messages to the Veltar, the Krymith, and dozens of other enslaved species. The messages were simple. You do not have to stay slaves forever. It scared High Command more than lost battles, Kethfer admitted. Other species were starting to remember what freedom felt like. They were asking questions. Some were even fighting back. The Battle of Mars changed everything. Humans had turned their red planet into a fortress. They dug tunnels deep underground. They put weapons on every mountain and in every crater. They used the planet itself as a weapon. Kethfer led the attack on Mars personally. He brought 50 ships and 20,000 soldiers. It should have been enough to take any world. Could not even land properly, he remembered. Every time our ships came close, the humans fired from hidden places. Rocks and cliffs exploded with weapons fire. The planet was alive with death. When Zephyrian troops finally reached the surface, they found more surprises. The humans had built underground cities connected by tunnels. Soldiers would appear, fight, and disappear into the ground. Every battle was a trap. General Amy Patterson commanded the Mars defense. She was a small human woman with gray hair. She looked like someone's grandmother, but she fought like a demon. Her tactics were cruel and smart. She made the Zephyrians afraid to take a single step forward. Patterson sent me a message during the battle, Kethfer said. She told me Mars would be our grave if we stayed. She said humans had been fighting wars on that planet for practice. Now they were ready for the real thing. The siege lasted 3 months. Every day cost hundreds of Zephyrian lives. Every night, human raiders attacked the camps. No Zephyrian soldier could sleep safely. They started having breakdowns. Some refused to fight. Others just sat and cried. Then came the broadcasts. Humans started sending messages into space, not military orders or demands for surrender. They sent music and stories and poems, sent recordings of human children laughing. They sent pictures of art and books and beautiful places on Earth. That was the most disturbing thing of all, Kethfer told Zechtel. We realized we were not fighting simple animals. These humans had deep thoughts and feelings. They created beautiful things. They loved their families. And they were willing to die for ideas we could not understand. Dr. Nina Walsh was working on something secret during the Mars siege. She was a human scientist who studied Zephyrian computer systems. While Patterson fought above ground, Walsh fought in a different way. She learned how to break into Zephyrian networks. One morning, every Zephyrian ship received the same message. It was a human song called Born Free. The song talked about birds that flew wherever they wanted, about animals that ran wild and happy, about people who chose their own paths in life. Our soldiers heard that song and something broke inside them, Kethfer said quietly. They started asking why they were fighting. They started wondering if the Empire was right. Some just put down their weapons and walked away. The Battle of Europa was even worse. Admiral Jake Morrison had learned from every previous fight. Knew Zephyrian tactics by then. He knew their weaknesses. He set a trap that would cost Kethfer half his fleet. Morrison pretended to retreat from Europa, one of the moons around the gas giant. He left behind a small group of ships that looked damaged and helpless. Kethfer thought it was an easy target. He was wrong. When we moved in to finish them, the real human fleet appeared from behind the moon, Kethfer remembered. Morrison had hidden 200 ships there. Ships we had never seen before. They were built with our own technology, but designed by human minds. The human ships moved like dancers. They worked together perfectly. They hit the Zephyrian fleet from all sides at once. In 4 hours, Kethfer lost 37 ships. Humans lost only 5. Commander Rick Stevens piloted one of the new human ships. His vessel was faster than anything the Zephyrians had built. It could jump between stars during battle. Stevens used his speed to appear, strike, and vanish like lightning. Stevens sent us a message after Europa, Kethfer said. He thanked us for teaching humans about space warfare, said they were grateful students, said they had learned enough to become the teachers now. After Europa, everything changed. The war was no longer about conquest. It was about survival. The Zephyrian Empire was losing for the first time in 1,000 years. My soldiers started having nightmares, Kethfer told Zechtel. They dreamed about human faces, about pilots who smiled while they died, about children who sang songs about freedom. The dreams never stopped. Other conquered species heard about human victories. They started rebelling. The Veltar attacked their Zephyrian guards. The Krymoth sabotaged mining equipment. Dozens of worlds erupted in revolution. High Command ordered Kethfer to end the war quickly. They said he was taking too long. They said humans were just another primitive species. They did not understand what Kethfer had learned. I tried to explain, Kethfer said. I told them humans were different. They did not fight for territory or resources. They fought for something called freedom, something they valued more than life itself. But High Command would not listen. They sent more ships and more soldiers. They ordered Kethfer to destroy human cities. They said fear would make humans surrender. They were wrong about that too. Kethfer finished his drink and looked at Zechtel. The young officer was shaking slightly. His face was pale with fear. You are beginning to understand, Kethfer said. Humans were not just winning battles. They were winning hearts and minds across the galaxy. They were showing other species that the Empire could be beaten. What happened next? Zechtel asked in a whisper. Kethfer stood up slowly. Next came the real horror. Boy, next came the part that broke us completely. Zechtel came to the cantina every night now. He had stopped eating properly. His sleep was full of bad dreams about humans he had never met. Kethfer saw the fear growing in the young officer's eyes. You do not have to hear the rest, Kethfer said as he sat down. Some knowledge is too heavy to carry. I need to know, Zechtel replied. My first mission is to the outer colonies. If humans are still out there, I need to understand what they are. Kethfer nodded sadly. Very well. But remember, boy. Oh, I warned you. 1 year after the war began, the Zephyrian Empire faced something that had never happened before. Other species were fighting back, not just small groups or angry individuals. Whole worlds were rebelling. The Veltar had been slaves for 50 years. Then Captain Danny Rodriguez visited their system secretly. He brought human weapons and human ideas. Within a month, the Veltar killed their Zephyrian guards and declared independence. Rodriguez did not just give them guns, Kethfer explained. He taught them something worse. He taught them hope. He showed them that the Empire could bleed. Dr. Sam Carter had created a new kind of school for aliens. Not for science or math, but for revolution. He taught other species how to build bombs from mining equipment, how to turn farming tools into weapons, how to organize secret armies. Within 6 months, 23 worlds were in open rebellion. The Empire had to pull ships away from the human war to fight on other fronts. For the first time in history, the Zephyrian military was spread too thin. High Command was starting to panic, Kethfer remembered. They called emergency meetings. They sent angry messages. They blamed Field. Commanders like me for taking too long? But the worst was yet to come. Dr. Nina Walsh had been studying Zephyrian technology for a year. She understood it better than most Zephyrian engineers. She began creating weapons that made human ships superior to anything the Empire had. The new human vessels were faster, stronger, and smarter than Zephyrian ships. They could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. They struck like lightning and vanished before the Empire could respond. Commander Rick Stevens now led a fleet of these super ships. His pilots called themselves the Ghost Squadron. They would attack 3 different systems in one day, then disappear for weeks. Stevens was like a nightmare that came alive, Kethfer said. He would hit our supply convoys, rescue rebel prisoners, and destroy our bases. We could never catch him. We could never predict where he would strike next. The Battle of Proxima was when Kethfer first understood true horror. The humans had learned that a Zephyrian fleet was coming to destroy a rebel world. Instead of running or hiding, they set up an ambush. General Amy Patterson commanded the defense. She had studied every Zephyrian battle for months. She knew exactly how Empire fleets attacked. She was ready. We came out of hyperspace expecting to find a weak planet and some scared rebels, Kethfer told Zechtel. Instead, we found 200 human ships waiting for us. Ships we had never seen before. Ships that should not have existed. Oh, the battle lasted 18 hours. It was not fighting anymore. It was butchery. The humans hit the Zephyrian fleet from every direction at once. They used tactics so brutal that even hardened warriors were sickened. Human ships would ram damaged Zephyrian vessels at full speed. When their weapons ran out of power, they used their hulls as weapons. When their engines died, they turned their ships into bombs. I watched a human captain named Tony Blake turn his dying ship into a missile, Kethfer said quietly. His vessel was breaking apart. His crew was dead. He could have escaped in a pod. Instead, he flew straight into our flagship and destroyed it. But the worst part was not the fighting. It was what happened after. The humans captured 300 Zephyrian prisoners. Everyone expected torture or execution. Instead, the humans did something that broke Zephyrian minds. They showed kindness. Human doctors treated wounded Zephyrian soldiers. Human cooks fed hungry prisoners good food. Human officers spoke politely and asked about Zephyrian families back home. They were killing us in battle, then treating us like honored guests as prisoners, Kethfer explained. It made no sense. What kind of species shows mercy to enemies who came to destroy them? President Helen Brooks visited the prison camps. Personally, she was the leader of all humanity. She could have ordered the prisoners killed. Instead, she talked to them. She asked why they fought for the Empire. She listened to their answers without anger. Many Zephyrian prisoners started asking questions they had never thought before. Why did the Empire need so many slaves? Why did they destroy other cultures? Why did they fear the idea of freedom so much? Some prisoners refused to go home when they were released. They asked to stay with the humans. They said life in the Empire felt empty after seeing what freedom looked like. That was when I knew we were truly losing, Kethfer said. When our own soldiers preferred human captivity to Zephyrian freedom, the Vega siege was the moment Kethfer's sanity began to crack. High Command ordered him to take the Vega system no matter the cost. 3 million humans lived there. They had built beautiful cities and peaceful farms. Kethfer brought 1,000 ships, the largest fleet in Zephyrian history. He surrounded the system and demanded surrender. The humans refused. They could have run, Kethfer said. They had ships. They could have evacuated. Instead, they chose to fight for their homes. The siege lasted for months. Every day, human volunteers flew impossible missions to protect evacuation ships. Mothers piloted fighters to save their children. Grandfathers flew bombers to protect their grandchildren. Children too young to walk were carried by parents who sang lullabies while dodging laser fire. Colonel Beth Parker led the final defense of New Vegas City. Her ship was an old transport vessel with civilian weapons attached. She had no military training. She was a school teacher who learned to fight when the war started. Parker held off my entire fleet for 6 hours with 30 civilian ships, Kethfer remembered. She kept broadcasting to her people, telling them to keep running, telling them they were brave, telling them freedom was worth any price. Parker's ship finally exploded. Something broke inside Kethfer. He had watched a teacher die to save children she would never meet. He had seen humans choose death over slavery again and again, could not understand why they made such choices. Dr. Carter sent a message during the siege. It was broadcast to every Zephyrian ship. The message was simple. We know you are soldiers following orders. We know many of you are good people. But we cannot let you take our freedom. We hope someday you will understand why. That night, Kethfer had his first nightmare about human faces. He dreamed about Captain Hayes smiling as she died, about Tony Blake turning his ship into a weapon, about Beth Parker singing to children while her world burned. The dreams never stopped after that. My officers started having problems too, Kethfer told Zechtel. Some refused to fight. Others asked to be transferred. A few just walked away from their posts and disappeared. High Command was desperate now. They authorized the use of planet-killer weapons, massive bombs that could destroy entire worlds. They told Kethfer to end the war with genocide. I held those orders in my hands for 3 days, Kethfer said. I could have killed every human in the galaxy. I could have ended their rebellion forever. Why did you not do it? Zechtel asked. Kethfer looked at his empty glass. Because by then, I was not sure who the real monsters were anymore. The cantina was completely quiet now. Every alien in the room was listening. They all knew the story would end badly for the Empire. What happened next? Zechtel whispered. Kethfer stood up slowly. His forearms shook as he reached for his coat. Next came Earth Boy. Next came the day the Zephyrian Empire learned what real horror looks like. Zechtel was waiting when Kethfer arrived at the cantina. The young officer looked sick. His hands shook as he held his drink. His eyes were hollow and scared. I cannot sleep, Zechtel said quietly. Every time I close my eyes, I see them, the humans you described. They haunt my dreams, and I have never even met them. Kethfer sat down heavily. Then you are beginning to understand what we went through. But the worst is still to come, boy. The final battle, the day that broke us all. 2 years after the war began, High Command ordered the final assault on Earth. Every available ship was called back from across the galaxy. 2,000 vessels, the largest fleet ever assembled. If this attack failed, the Empire would fall. Kethfer commanded the assault personally. He no longer believed in victory, but he followed orders. He was a soldier. Soldiers obeyed, even when obedience led to hell. Approaching Earth was like flying into a nightmare, Kethfer told Zechtel. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Every asteroid had weapons. Every moon was covered with guns. Every piece of space junk had been turned into a bomb. The outer planets struck first. Gas giant mining stations launched clouds of missiles. Saturn's rings exploded with hidden weapons platforms. Jupiter's moons fired beams of energy that could cut ships in half. Admiral Tony Mitchell commanded Earth's orbital defenses. He had spent 2 years preparing for this moment. Every human ship, every space station, every satellite had been armed and ready. Mitchell sent us a message as we entered the system, Kethfer remembered. He said Earth would be our graveyard. He said humanity had been waiting for us. He thanked us for giving them time to prepare. The battle for the outer system lasted 3 days. Human defenders fought like demons. They used civilian ships as bombs. They turned cargo haulers into missile platforms. Old people and children operated defense stations while soldiers fought in space. When a human ship was about to be destroyed, the crew would sing. Not songs of fear or sadness, but songs of hope and freedom. They sang as they died. They sang as their ships exploded. They sang as they flew into Zephyrian holes at ramming speed. I will never forget those voices, Kethfer said quietly. Hundreds of humans singing about freedom while they chose to die for it. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. President Helen Brooks was on Earth during the battle, so she could have evacuated to a safe planet. Instead, she stayed in her office and gave orders. She spoke to her people on the radio every day. She told them they were brave. She told them history would remember their sacrifice. The Zephyrian fleet finally reached Earth's moon after losing 400 ships. Luna had been turned into the ultimate fortress. Weapons covered every crater. Underground tunnels connected vast ammunition stores. The moon itself had become a weapon. Colonel Beth Parker's daughter, Captain Mary Parker, commanded Luna's defenses. She had grown up during the war. She had learned to fight from watching her mother die at Vega. She was 20 years old and had never known peace. Mary Parker held Luna for 18 hours against my entire fleet, Kethfer said. 18 hours. With only 200 ships and 1 million civilian volunteers, farmers and teachers and children operating gun turrets while my soldiers tried to break through. When Luna finally fell, something happened that Kethfer still could not explain. The surviving human defenders did not surrender, did not run. They formed a line and walked calmly toward the Zephyrian landing forces. They were not attacking, they were not fighting, they were just walking. Men and women and children, holding hands, walking toward certain death. They sang as they walked. The same song about freedom that had haunted Zephyrian dreams for 2 years. My soldiers opened fire, Kethfer said, but their hands were shaking. Some missed on purpose. Others just stopped shooting and stared. They could not understand what they were seeing. The final assault on Earth began at dawn. Keth first remaining. Ships surrounded the blue planet. Every major city was targeted. Every military base was marked for destruction. This would be the end of human resistance. But Earth was ready. Admiral Jake Morrison had come home for the final battle. His hair was gray now. His face was lined with 2 years of war. But his eyes still burned with the same fire that had started this nightmare. Morrison's last message was the longest he ever sent, Kethfer remembered. Said humans had always known this day would come. Said they were ready to die for freedom, but they would not die alone. Promised that Earth would be beautiful. Again, someday, even if no humans lived to see it. The planet's surface erupted with weapons fire. Every mountain had hidden guns. Every city was a fortress. Every farm had been turned into a military base. Children operated communication systems. Elderly humans loaded ammunition. Everyone fought. But the most horrible thing was not the fighting. It was the joy. Humans were happy as they faced extinction. They laughed as they died. They cheered when their weapons destroyed Zephyrian ships. They sang victory songs even when they were losing. They acted like dying for freedom was the greatest honor possible, Kethfer told Zechtel. Like they were grateful for the chance to choose death over slavery. I could not understand it. I still cannot understand it. Dr. Sam Carter appeared. On every communication channel during the battle, he was in a laboratory deep underground. He was still working, still creating new weapons, even as the world burned above him. Carter's final broadcast showed him smiling, Kethfer said, smiling as bombs fell on his city. He said humans had proven something important. He said some things were worth any price. He said freedom was one of those things. When Zephyrian troops finally landed on Earth, they found something that destroyed their minds. Humans would not surrender even when facing certain death. Old women threw rocks at armed soldiers. Children drew pictures of freedom on walls while laser fire burned. Around them, mothers sang lullabies to babies while buildings collapsed. Fathers told stories about better days coming while everything they owned turned to ash. My soldiers started breaking down, Kethfer said. They could not kill people who showed such courage. They could not destroy a species that loved freedom more than life itself. Some Zephyrian troops just stopped fighting. They sat down and cried. Others threw away their weapons and walked away. Few asked human prisoners to explain what freedom meant. That is when I gave the order to withdraw, Kethfer admitted. Not because we were losing the battle. We were winning. We could have killed every human on Earth, but the cost was too high. What cost? Zechtel asked. Our souls, boy, our sanity, our ability to sleep at night. The humans were not just dying for freedom. They were showing us what we had become, what the Empire really was. The Zephyrian fleet left Earth's orbit 12 hours later. They had accomplished nothing except proving that some species would rather die than submit. Behind them, Earth began to rebuild. Humans sang songs of victory, even though their world was in ruins. The other rebellions succeeded after that, Kethfer said. 47 worlds declared independence. The Empire collapsed within 5 years, all because humans showed the galaxy what freedom looked like. Zechtel was crying now. Tears ran down his blue face as he stared at the old commander. And you? What happened to you? Kethfer smiled sadly. Resigned my commission the day we returned home. I could not serve an empire that feared freedom so much. I could not fight people who were braver than I was. Are humans still dangerous? Skettel. Whispered Var stood up and put on his coat. The cantina was empty now, except for them. Outside, the night was quiet and full of stars. Dangerous? Kethfer said softly. No, boy. They are something much worse than dangerous. They are right, and deep down every Zephyrian knows it. He walked toward the door, leaving Zechtel alone with the truth. Somewhere among those distant stars, humans were still free, still singing their songs about liberty. Galaxy, that some things were worth any sacrifice. And Kethfer would spend the rest of his life trying to forget the horror of fighting them.